Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I will always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and we have a great show planned for you tonight. The main topic tonight is the beautiful you. Pretty simple topic, but I felt the need to have the topic so, as a spiritual community, a lot of times we get into so many other things about trying to either fix things or to wake other people up. That we forget some of the basic principles, which is that, how beautiful you really are. So we're going to talk on that a little bit, but I do tonight have a heck of a lot of follow-up items. Seems like every week so much stuff is jumping off that we're forced to do a lot of covering of topics that we've discussed before because we're predicting this stuff. We're seeing it unfold before it actually happens. So with that said, I will bring on my co-host. I see Brother Sean, so let me bring him on. And I see Sis Sandra. Get Brother Sean. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Peace and love, sis. I'm well. What about you?
Oh, I'm doing good. Good to hear your voice.
Likewise, beautiful.
All right, now, let me bring in Sis Sandra. Here we go. Peace and love, sis. How are you?
Peace and love to you, Miss Rhonda and Brother Sean. And how's the family out there? A shout out to you. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You
And
know,
voices.
it's funny you mentioned that you're going to go over some stuff, which, you know what, we used to have the news segment.
Yes, and we had so much to cover on the spirituality side that I cut the news out, but now a lot of those things that we've predicted, 3 years ago, are coming into fruition. So, you know, I'm kind of sneaking it back in per se. But yeah, we used to have the news section, and sometimes it would take over the whole show. And it's kind of getting back to that. I mean, we just go how the spirit moves us. So we'll see how it unfolds tonight.
Because we used to do the fuckery too.
Yeah, and we could still do the fuckery. And I thought about that. I'm like, damn, I've been so into, you know, recapping and the topic, I forgot the fuckery. So, yeah, we could start with the fuckery tonight if you all, and I know, sis, you don't say fuckery, you say something else. Yeah, so we can start, matter of fact, let's start out the gate with, go ahead on with the fuckery. Brother Sean, did you have one to bring up? You know it's always something out there.
Yeah. This whole debate and fashion thing within the Aboriginal community.
Mm-hmm.
It's turning into the comedic thing. I mean, it's the same old backstabbing, back talking, and really ain't nobody produce no results.
Right.
I mean, everybody keep talking about this paperwork shit again. I mean, who the fuck you filing the paperwork with?
Right.
I mean, I keep hearing people say that they got their paperwork straight and they ain't paying no taxes and this, that, or the other. What, you didn't cop out the privileges?
Right.
I mean, I sound like fuckery to me. I mean,
yeah, and I'm glad you brought that point up, because actually a lot of the follow-up items that I have tonight, some of them are going back to the historical points that we've made on the show, some more information that I had ran across, and then some of it is up to date of what we're seeing, what's going on now with the federally recognized tribes. So I'm so glad that you brought that up about the fuckery and the paperwork, Brother Sean, because that's actually on my list to discuss tonight. You know, just to be crystal clear with our folks, with the fuckery and the paperwork and the proving who you are and all of that bullshit. So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it's, if you are not careful, it'll be, to me, now this is just my humble opinion, it's almost like putting together some motherfucking Moorish paperwork. Now that's just my opinion. But I'll dive a little bit deeper into some of the things that are coming out in the news, and we'll discuss it in a full circle. But yes, I am so glad that you brought that up. And it also kind of dives into the topic tonight also about the beautiful you. Because, you know, again, we get so enamored with the spiritual side, you know, what we were historically as a great people. Everything is still, if you're not careful, taking you further away from who you really are. Because if you have to rely on, well, my ancestors were great, therefore I'm great, you're marching into some dangerous territory. Because you should be able to stand within yourself and know that you are great, you are beautiful, that you are divine on your own. And that is why our people, as a melanated community, we keep having these identity crises. So that is another main reason I wanted to have this topic tonight. Okay, I'm sorry. So, sis, you have any go ahead on with the effery?
Well, somewhat. I know that this is a season of distraction.
Mm-hmm.
People are under a lot of frequencies that they can't handle, and
Yes.
they're not being able to adjust, and they're just fighting and fussing. And back to Brother Sean's concept, I just wanted to point out that we were tribal. We were tribal people,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing these gang enhancements because we're shooting and killing each other. But we were tribes, and not every tribe got along with everybody. We were always beefing with each other. And so whatever we have to do, we're going to have to overcome that and get to understanding that because you all feather up, you're not wearing the same feathers.
Mm-hmm.
So these tribes are now bringing this out in this person done said the wrong thing. This one ain't doing it right. You'll F with the other people and do this with that person, and and it's wrong because whatever is good for you, keep it to you. But whatever is good for somebody else, let them do their thing. But see, that's the problem. So when the judges and everybody put these gang enhancements on all this stuff, they are just showing the fact that this is who we are. We've always been a tribe at war with each other, and maybe we should understand that and stop being so emotive and having so much emotion towards each other, and just smoke the peace pipe or something.
Yes,
but
smoking on a peace pipe. Remember that? Smoking on a... Sorry, that just came to my mind.
We got to do something to understand. We can't take care of ourselves until we understand ourselves. And they're not understanding that we all have a right to disagree with each other.
Yes.
We don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree.
Yes.
And just leave it at that. And stop dissing each other. Because the Sioux or the Chickasaw or the Blackfoot, the Crows or whatever, they didn't all get along.
Right.
That's why they live in territories. So don't come over there trying to take anybody else's territory because you think you're better than they are. You guys need to stay in your own territory and just try to live decently. If you can't take the frequency, then you're going to be eliminated too. Because there's no, it's not going to be respect your people on this frequency change. Nobody going to respect anybody.
Very
so that's
good,
all I want to say.
Excellent. Okay, so my go head on with the fuckery. I know you all heard about this. So, out in New Mexico, they shut down a sun observatory. And the FBI swooped in, shut it down, and 2 post offices that was located next to it, they shut it down as well. This was in the news media. I saw a clip of where Fox News had was reporting on the story, and they didn't give an explanation on why they shut it down. Well, I just saw an explanation earlier today, and I just laughed at it because the explanation was that supposedly and allegedly one of the employees that worked at the Sun Observatory, the janitor, was downloading child porn. Oh, I take that back. Well, let me back up a minute. Okay, the only explanation that was given when they swooped in to shut down the Sun Observatory was that it was a threat against national security. Okay, so now today, their explanation came back with that it was supposedly and allegedly a janitor that worked at the Sun Observatory that was downloading child porn. So here's where the go head on with the fuckery comes into play, because number one, we know you ain't got to shut down nothing to zero in on somebody that's doing some bogus stuff on the internet. So they can go head on with that. That's the fuckery within their supposed explanation. So you don't have to shut down not only that particular site, but the post office, the two post offices surrounding it. What the fuck the two post offices got to do with anything? You know, you could have just showed up on dudes when he was working that night and arrested his ass. So they can go ahead on with that. Now, behind the scenes, other folks had been, with their high-powered telescopes and their cameras and stuff, folks have been watching the sun extremely closely. They've been watching the sun and the moon. And there's a hell of a lot of activity going on with objects flying in front of the sun and different planets, aka energies, showing next to the sun. Okay, and the moon, somebody captured the moon a couple of nights ago, and it was a crescent moon, or that's what they claim is a crescent moon. I ain't never seen no crescent moon that looked like it had motherfucking teeth marks in it. It was choppy. So, you know, they were saying, is this really the moon or what's really going on? But back to the sun. So if you look at the National Weather Service's website, you'll also see that there has been a high amount of activity of solar flares. And in addition, there has been high activity in the Arctic with plasma burst, or what they're calling aurora borealis. And that aurora borealis energy keeps expanding further and further, also what they call the northern lights. So that's my go ahead on with the fuckery, for them to shut down that observatory all of a sudden. And some folks said, well, they could have shut it down, all of them down across the country. That is true, but at the same time they shut down that one in New Mexico, the online cameras to the other ones was shut down. So it's a lot more going on than they want the public to know. As Sis said before, it's these energies have shifted, and there are new energy planets, they're calling them planets, that are now more and more visible. And that's what they continuously hide from the public. And it just so happened, what is it, not next Thursday, October 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. October 3rd, Trump card is supposed to be doing some national test over the airways. So I kind of scratched my head because I never remember no national test across the whole country like that. Now, you may have your local place do a weekly test or whatever of the emergency broadcast system, but I've never known some national test, emergency national test being done across the nation. So that's my go ahead on with the fuckery with just, them not telling the public the truth, and maybe in their mind sight they're not telling the truth because the public will not take it well, but they are definitely not accurate. That whole story just does not make sense about shutting that New Mexico thing down. So that's my go ahead.
I don't know. Sound like they about ready to announce and have dummies run out to them FEMA buses.
And some people have said that too, that they're probably prepping for a fake alien invasion. That's very well possible too.
Russia in 2012 now has said that some extraterrestrials on their way back and where Earth is in danger. Remember that little secret meeting, that 2-hour jaunt with Trump and Putin, and everybody was wondering what he said to Putin? See, Russia has been doing interventions and back manufacturing, what they call it, reverse manufacturing, a craft
reverse engineering.
Reverse engineering crafts that they shoot down. They have footage of it. They have books of it. I read it. And everybody wants Putin to shut up. But see, Trump is also taking money from budgets, military budgets particularly, to do his space army.
So, remember he announced that?
So they're preparing. And we also said, I think, I may have spoke to my son about it, but these folks going to start disappearing and all of a sudden dying because they're going to go underground and hide. So, so here you go. All these people are quitting. They all going underground and they building all these bunkers. All these people building these bunkers for Chief, what's his name? Whitehouse? No.
Yes,
Chief
I know
Willie.
what you're talking about. Yes.
Willie. And all of this was going to transpire, according to the Hopi legend, that and the Hopi said that their friends saved them from the disasters that's coming. And so there's a lot more happening than they are telling the populace, because as you say, they're not going to be able to take this because they've been knowing this for years that this stuff is about to go down.
Right.
They've been knowing it. And they see it. Matter of fact, I had seen somebody who was doing a simulation of a balloon going up, and they put a camera on it, and they focused the sun. They talked about the black sun, too, I want to tell you. But they were focused on the sun, and they figured out that the sun was a portal. And there was lots of machinery that was coming out of that sun, just like there's lots of machinery coming out of the Arctic Circle where the Earth opens up and they fly out. I've seen them on cameras where people are taking pictures of it, and I said, so a lot of these people, I would go to say that a lot of these deaths they saying about these senators and stuff like that, I ain't gonna mention which one. It's probably fake. He probably running. So he could take his family with him, and nobody be the wiser. So I just wonder why they, why they want to hide it from us, because we don't all have a place to run, see, and they have the money to run.
Right,
so,
but if you, I'm sorry, go ahead, sis. I didn't mean to cut you.
No, but our ancestors not coming after us; they coming after them. So that's all.
Very good. Yep. You made the point. Yep. Because that's the only point. There is. I was talking to a sis, and she had been mentioning it to me probably over the last year to watch this movie. It's an old movie. Came out in, I want to say, the 70s. It's called The Wave, and it's about Aboriginals and a murder that happened. So, long story short, and I don't want to get, if you so happen to look at the movie, I don't want to totally give it away, but talking about what's going on today. The premise of the movie, it starts out with these Aboriginals that were on the main island, and they have wound up killing one of their friends or whatever. So the colonizers brought them into court trying to prosecute them. So the lawyer that got the case, he was saying, well, first of all, you have no business bringing them into court because they are indigenous to this land. And so the colonizers was like, no, they're not. It's not documented that any of the Aboriginals were indigenous to this land. They're indigenous to the islands, blah, 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 blah. And he knew that through a dream and some information his wife had pulled up. So long story short, then through a series of dreams, because they kept coming to him in dreams, revealing to him what was going on, that it was going to be this big natural disaster that happened, and it was going to be a flood.
Right.
And, they just kept showing him this over and over and over again about the flood. So I'm not going to tell the rest of the movie, but long story short, just looking at this movie, it hit me. I'm like, oh, shit. They're explaining what's going to be going on across this planet. And specifically, I was thinking about the Americas. Because is that not the story we hear? Oh, they're not indigenous to this land. They're indigenous to the blah, blah, blah land. But the artifacts, and that's also what happened in the movie, the artifacts where the colonizers had built over ancient sacred land prove that these Aboriginals were native to the mainland, not just the islands, but the mainland as well. And so watching this movie, it hit me, oh, shit, that they're really talking about what's going on across, or what will be going on across the planet, and it's going on now, because remember, this movie was made in the 70s. What's going on now with the prophecy of the planet and the natural disasters to correct everything up. And Dude, the main character in the movie, the white colonist, was sent to warn his own people to get the hell on, that this really big flood was coming. So I totally agree with you, sis. And, the sister that told me to watch this movie, we talk about this all the time, that, everybody has a certain spiritual journey that they have signed up for, they chose, okay? And that's part of going within and learning who you are as well, to realize what your particular spiritual journey is, and how not only as an individual what you do, but kind of how you fit into the grand collective. And that's why I always say, from a Caucasian perspective, those of their folks that enter and understand the prophecy, they know what's supposed to happen, they know what folks need to be doing, it is their responsibility to put that message out to their people. And so that's what this particular movie was showing. So it's going to be very interesting to just keep watching this stuff unfold.
Hey, sis.
Mm-hmm.
We're the aliens, if you think about it.
Absolutely.
I mean, the ancestors ain't going to return and do nothing. We are the ancestors returned, and it's up to us to do something.
Exactly.
But,
because, I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
I mean, if you think about it, let me see the best way to put this.
Funny.
If we return to who we are, as far as the corporation, we're considered foreigners, aliens.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that's trying to make this seem like it's somebody from outer space.
Mm-hmm.
It's us returning to who and what we are.
Exactly.
That would make us aliens to the corporation.
To the corporation. Absolutely.
And returning to who and what we really are.
That's right.
We are dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Yes, very dangerous.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You know, it's a great segue into a lot of the follow-up that I found this week. And I'm going to send a shout-out to a couple of people. Sis Cheryl dropped a lot of good information, as usual, this week. And someone else dropped an article about, and I'm trying to find it, y'all. It was about the storm that just came through and about the Gullah Geechee tribe. And this was off of a website called Mother Jones. And when was it? September 18th. So literally a couple of days ago. And it's the Gullah Geechee people called Carolina Coast home for centuries. Then Florence came. This came out September 18th. All right. Righty. Here we go. The decision to leave, on Monday, Sheldon Scott flew from his home in Washington, D.C. to Pawleys Island, South Carolina, where his mother and sister live. He was on an evacuation mission with Hurricane Florence bearing in. He needed to get his family members to safety. The decision to leave the island was not easy. It's the only home my mom has ever known, Scott, an artist and performer, said by phone from D.C., where his family is now, too. Pawleys Island is a narrow 4-mile-long barrier island south of Myrtle Beach, connected to the mainland by a pair of causeways. The land Scott's mother lives on was part of the rice plantation, where their family members were enslaved more than 150 years ago, he said. Her mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and great-great-grandmother all lived on the island, and generations before that, too. That's the story of the Gullah Geechee Nation, an estimated 200,000 people living on the barrier island of the Carolina, Georgia, and Florida coast. They carry on a distinct culture rooted in West Africa, where many of the ancestors were enslaved by British traders in the colonial era. The low-lying islands are frequent targets for hurricanes and tropical storms, but historically, the Gullah Geechee people have resisted evacuating their land due to deep ties, a respect for tradition, and economic limitations. Many have stayed in the face of Florence, too. We are people of faith, and that is the reason that people do not leave. Queen Kuet Marquette L. Goodwine, the elected chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation, told City Lab via email, "Our souls are tied from the land." But as climate change brings more dangerous hurricanes and rising seas, and as the Gullah Geechee network expands with younger generations leaving away from home, the connection may be fraying. Many neighbors in the small village where he grew up did leave this time, according to Scott, and they did so with the understanding that their ancestral homes face a double threat: the hurricane itself and also a vortex of laws that imperil residents' property rights. If Scott's mother's home is damaged or destroyed, she could face huge barriers to rebuilding or receiving FEMA relief. worse, a speculator could buy up the land from beneath her. That's because the land is classified as heirs property, a legal condition that leaves it particularly vulnerable, especially in a disaster. It's a constant conversation, but it becomes more sensitive and heightened during times like these, Scott said. Like many Gullah Geechee people, Scott's mother does not have a clear-cut deed for the land where she lives. Though she owns the trailer on it, pays property taxes and utility fees, and has demonstratively deep connections to the land, the property has never been probated in a will that specifies the exact owner. So her interest in the land is subdivided between a large number of family members who descended from the original holders centuries ago. This form of land ownership, called heirs property, became prevalent through the South after the end of the Civil War, when African Americans freed from slavery bought or were deeded property. Okay, so I have to stop right there because you see how stupid that sounds. If I just came out of a slavery, how the hell I was able to buy something? Okay, all right. So anyhow, though a comprehensive survey has never been done, one academic study from 2001 estimated that 41% of African American owned land across the Southeast could be classified this way. According to a survey by the Center for Heirs Property Preservation, a legal aid nonprofit, more than 108,000 acres between 15 counties in the South Carolina Low Country, home to many low-income black communities now threatened by Hurricane Florence, are likely heirs property. And we know that it is an underreported number, said Jeannie L. Stevens, the organization's executive director. At any given moment, heirs property is an unstable form of property for a number of reasons, said John Pollock, the founder and coordinator of the Heirs Property Retention Coalition, an Alabama-based nonprofit devotee to protecting the rights of ancestral low-income landowners. For example, when one heir property owner wants to build or rebuild on the land or get a home loan or mortgage, every other heir has to agree. All of the owners have certain rights to property, said Pollock. It can be an incredibly difficult to get consensus, especially when all parties might not even be in touch. Without the ability to finance their home, heirs property owners can often wind up land rich. Now pay attention to this. Land rich but cash poor. Many of the beautiful barrier islands in the Carolinas and the Georgias where the Gullah Geechee live have come under immense pressure from real estate and hotel developers in recent years. They're home to golf courses, waterfront resorts, and vacation homes. Some heirs who don't live on the island may be more interested in cashing out on their connections to this valuable property, selling the land rather than building it up themselves, Pollock explained. More concerning, selling the land can be fairly easy to do. Any heir has the right to go to court and partition the property or divvy it up into parcels, but without the consent of other heirs. In practice, courts will often simply partition the property by selling it at auction, divvying up the proceeds, even if most of the heirs oppose it, according to a 2018 case study of the heirs property issues by the legal scholars Gabriel Curis. Unscrupulous speculators are another threat. Outside buyers who've identified an undervalued heir's property can prey on unwitting heirs, buying up one of their interests at a low price, obtaining a partition sale in court, and then purchasing the entire property for themselves. since often the original heirs do not have the capital to afford it themselves. Developers have been doing this to the Gullah Geechee beachfront since the 1970s, and it's a pattern throughout the South where African American property owners have lost millions of acres over the past century. All the owners, including the ones who've been living there for decades, get forced off, said Pollock. It's a dramatic and draconian situation. So far, 10 states, including South Carolina and Georgia, have passed the Uniform Partition of Heirs Property Act, a law partly crafted by Pollock's group that slows down the process and makes these types of sales harder for developers to achieve. But that protection does not exist in North Carolina, where heirs' property is also extensive, and where Hurricane Florence is now claiming the lives and causing catastrophic flooding. One real estate data company estimates the storm's worst-case scenario could cost about $170 billion in damages. In the midst of natural disaster, these dynamics can leave heirs' property uniquely threatened. When an owner goes to apply for disaster relief for her damaged home but discover her name isn't on the deed, she will likely struggle to meet the deadline for state and federal assistance. Approximately 20,000 heir property owners were denied FEMA or HUD assistance following Hurricanes Katrina and Rita because they weren't able to show clear titles to the property, according to 2017 studies by the USDA. It is possible for heirs property owners to gain control over their land, but it requires legal action, and that demands financial resources that many heirs property owners do not have. Stevens' organization, the Centers for Heirs Property Preservation, extends pro bono legal assistance to families who must go to court to prove ownership. It generally takes a minimum of 6 months and sometimes several years to get everything in order, perform title searches, find heirs, pay for land surveys. Usually FEMA has a window in which you can apply for relief funds, Stevens said. You can't resolve heirs' property in a matter of weeks. So what does that do for family who can't access those funds? In the coming weeks, Stevens expects an uptick in requests for help from heirs property owners affected by Hurricane Florence. On Monday, when her team returns to the office, they'll be blasting out notices about their services on social media. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina shone a light on how many heirs properties there are in the Southeast. Nearly 25,000 residents in New Orleans lacked a clear title to their home, according to a 2012 report by the Appleseed, a network of public interest legal service center in the U.S. and Mexico. Because it was so challenging for these largely low-income owners to qualify for FEMA and long-term recovery aid for storm repairs, many of them stopped paying property taxes on their homes and lost them at public auction, another way that heirs' property wind up slipping out of the hands of occupants. It's common to see a cascade of issues for low-income disaster victims, said Laura Tuggle, the executive director of Southeast Louisiana Legal Services. Everyone gets impacted by floods, but not equally. Hurricane Katrina awakened legal reformers to the extent of heirs property issues through the Gulf Coast and through the Southeast. As a result, FEMA is no longer quite as strict about the type of documentation owner-occupants must show to prove their rights to land. Several states have relaxed their disaster relief and qualifications too. Once state and federal relief funding packages are released for Florence, Pollock said heirs property owners will have a better sense of where they stand. And in a few states, thanks to the Uniform Partitions Act, it has become harder for unscrupulous speculators to buy out family members and flip their land. There's been a lot of legal reform work to reduce that kind of abuse, said Heather Way, a law professor and director of the Entrepreneurship and Community Development Clinic at the University of Texas. Way pointed out that heirs property issues also affect historically black neighborhoods in Philadelphia, the colonias of the Texas border, and many other predominantly low-income minority communities nationwide. But recent reforms designed to protect these property owners have not completely eliminated the risk. Pollock said he would not be surprised to see speculators grabbing up storm-wrecked heirs properties along the prime Carolina coast in the wake of Florida, if they manage to acquire interest in it. And heirs property owners affected by Florence may face a long and difficult road ahead. 13 years after Katrina, Kroger said her clinic still gets new cases related to the storm. Scott described the potential loss of his family's land on Pawleys Island as a distinction between a house and a home. Most people evacuate with some assurance that even if the house is gone, the home will still be accessible, he said. For his family, Florence's damage could be worse than that. Their ancestral land, their home for generations, could be gone too. Okay, so again, that's an article off of Mother Jones' website that came out September 18th. It's titled "The Gullah Geechee People Called Carolina's Coast Home for Centuries, Then Florence Came." So I'll pause and get some water in case somebody wants to put something on it.
I would really be interested to see the ionic signature, I think that's what they call it, on that storm, because it was a little intense, just like that Katrina was. And, you know, they have the HAARP. I'm sure people have heard about it. And they use those storms. It's called Weather Wars. And Stephen Quell wrote a book. It's so boring, I almost fell asleep when I was reading it. But he talks about how the military has developed, and other countries too, not only ours, have developed ways to make war to get people out of property that they want to have. So, and then in Houston, when they had that thing, then the governor had said that no one's going to get money to rebuild unless they signed a contract that said that the Zionist Israel was able to, you're going to support them. And you had to buy Zionist products and stuff. You know, you can't talk against them, otherwise you can't get a loan to rebuild. So this is another form of the so-called takeover, but them takeovers about done. If not done.
Agreed.
Because they the time is up for all this shenanigans, but Philip Morris, I think it's Philip Morris, tobacco company.
People.
Yes.
Ooh, sis, we in sync, because I got something on that, girl. I got some tea on that. But go ahead.
Yeah, they down there, they done taken over a lot of that property. Because that tobacco is where they do their raising their tobacco in that area. So they've already
now, they herbed, and not to cut you off, but before I forget, because South Carolina just legalized medical weed.
Wow, that's stupid.
Yeah,
For
so
us.
that would make sense that the tobacco companies are probably going to move into, I'm sure they already are, I just haven't researched it, into growing weed too.
Well, you know, Coca-Cola is talking about putting it in the Coke. Well, they
Girl,
did
I
crack.
just fell out. Well, shit, they
already
used to
did
put cocaine. That's how it got its name. So they used to put cocaine in it. So, you know, hey, they probably going to go back to putting cocaine in it and then weed. You want to be up or you want to be mellow? Which one you want? Buy both packs. So
I want to be negative, no Coke.
yeah,
That's what I'm
I wouldn't smoke none of they stuff. You know,
I wouldn't drink
grow
Coke
my own.
either.
You wouldn't have me smoking they GMO stuff. I don't think so. But
no, you know, and they use these storms to do that, to move people off of the land they want. And so I love to. It'll be coming out because there was what you call them people's conspiracies.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be tracking. They're gonna be tracking that storm. Bet that they're gonna find out why that was so fierce. Because
and
it was
interesting. I'm sorry, sis. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm linking up with a brother. He has a YouTube channel out, and his family still lives in South Carolina. My ancestral roots on my father's side is South Carolina. So he put out some information that links us from a tribal standpoint. So I reached out to him, and of course, because of the storm, we couldn't connect. So, you know, as soon as, you know, he gets all that taken care of, his family is safe or whatever, we're going to link up, and I'm going to bring him on the show as well so we can chop it up and talk about that South Carolina region. And the point of me to bring that article into play tonight is to, once again, make the family aware of what they're trying to do is not going to work. But also just to remind you, as we have been saying for the longest, that a lot of the ancestral land, in that article, it says 41% of the land is, they call it ancestral land. So meaning it had been passed down from generation to generation to generation, and they cannot sell it without everyone agreeing. Okay, so that's the point that 2 points I was trying to make, that it could be folks possibly trying to do a land grab. It's not going to work because whether or not they manufactured the storm, they will not be able to peacefully be on that land. And to be honest, I think that's one of the reasons why they have not taken that land, because spiritually they won't be able to inhabit it. And North Carolina has been changing a lot. It's gotten a lot more expensive. You have a lot of Caucasians moving in there, making it a hell of a lot expensive, and a lot of the melanated towns that were once melanated aren't melanated anymore. And usually when that happens, pay attention, because I have lived in those transitional areas, and I'm going to tell you, the storms always come. They always come. Being in Atlanta, I have witnessed it, where the storms will jump over neighborhoods and hit certain areas. So I'm saying all that to say, if they continue with the gentrification, the storms and stuff are only going to get worse. So whatever storm they try to put out on the melanated folks to move them off of land, it's going to still wind up, the karma energy is going to wind up hitting a storm in another place, devastating it. So just pay attention. This has been prophesied that these weather storms would happen. Now, they of course are kicking them off, but ultimately, Mama got the last motherfucking word. And these folks, they gotta move the hell on, or be washed off or burnt off of it. Okay, so pay attention. It looks like that the West, meaning that California area, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, you're going to start hearing a lot of rumble about land. You're going to a lot of disasters, weather-related disasters, going to continue to happen there. Because they're still saying in Yellowstone they're blocking off a lot of the park in Yellowstone that it's about to blow. And on the south, there's going to be a lot of water-related stuff going on because a cleansing is going on. And, Mama is trying to balance herself. But in the meantime, these truths are going to continue to be revealed about land ownership, etc. So I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it. Press star 1 to get in the queue. And then I want to discuss that tobacco stuff, sis, because I came across some information. Yes, sir. Yes, brother.
People going to have to be careful about the meats coming up out the Carolinas, too.
Yes.
Chicken, pork, because they'll reprocess that stuff, especially if it's still right there in them bones.
All day long. They will grind that up and keep it moving.
Add some blood to it.
Yep.
A little bit of fresh meat.
Yep. And keep it moving and sell it in a heartbeat. So, yeah, be careful of the meats. Also, buying used cars. Whenever there are natural disasters, floods, they will put that shit right back on the market. And if you live in a state where they don't have to disclose that, then you'll wind up buying a lemon. So be careful and do your research if you're going to buy a used car over the next year, because they're called salvage cars, if I'm not mistaken. So be careful with that also.
Too.
True. Shit, I hadn't thought about that. That's true.
Any vehicles coming from down there.
That's true. That's true. So make sure if you're in the market to buy a car to trace it via that VIN number, so you won't get stuck with the lemon. So that's a good point. Very, very good point on the meat and on the cars. I thought about the cars as well. Okay, so on the tobacco stuff. So we all know that, damn, another state had legalized herb this week too, y'all. And I didn't damn forget. They did it on the medical marijuana. I can't remember which state. So be on the lookout for that as well. But back to this tobacco stuff. There is a brother. I like his work. He has a YouTube channel, and y'all all are probably familiar with him, but he's called UnCONPromeyezed. He did a particular video. I don't even remember the name of the video, and forgive me. Oh, yes, I do. About Virginia, Roanoke, Virginia. Okay, so the crust of the video was proving that Roanoke was a melanated man. Okay, so he was going through all his research, which made me go back and kind of double check what he was saying, and I also start digging deeply, and sure enough, that particular part of Virginia, Roanoke, Roanoke, was named after a melanated chief. Okay, and there you can search on him, and you will find pictures of him in his tribal chief outfit, and you'll see him as he was the face of tobacco for Virginia. Okay, So, and even today, the way he spelled his name, damn, I had it, family. He spelled it a little different. It was like ROONAKE or ROONEKE. I've seen it both ways. But either way, it was clearly documented that that's where that part of Virginia was named after. He was the face of tobacco, and he had made deals originally with the Dutch for tobacco. And even today, out of, damn, I had documentary and everything. I'll have to go back to my YouTube page. But one of those places, countries out in Europe, they still celebrate him today. He still shows up on buildings and stuff. So, this is just a reminder again that we as the ancestors return to clean up this mess, we have to enter and understand the behavior that went on back in the day, because some of those chiefs were doing business with the colonizers. Now, the second part I want to get into, don't think that those first colonizers were Caucasian, because they weren't. They were melanated on up to the king. Okay, so Cicero posted a picture of King George, melanated man. Okay, clear as day. They're melanated. And then as it got up to, I think after World War I, they started looking mulatto. And then now you have what you have today, which I feel aren't the real European nobility. I feel the folks we see today are just placeholders, that the real nobility is still melanated people behind the scenes. So let's be clear, the King Georges and all of those folks that were came over here either making negotiations with our ancestors, those that didn't want to make negotiations that said go ahead on with the bullshit, which was mainly in the Georgia, Carolina region. They, the other tribes or the other Indian nations to start this invasion, those were melanated folks. And it would make a lot of sense, because it would be hard for a Caucasian. That would just be like a Caucasian going to the hood, trying to take something from some motherfucking body. It ain't finna happen. The hood is not going to allow that. Matter of fact, the hood will barely allow someone that even looks like their own, that is not from that hood, to come in with some fuckery. Somebody would have to vouch for you from your particular hood. Okay? So these are the things that I want to bring to the family's attention. And another example, Raleigh, North Carolina, there are pictures out there of Sir Walter Raleigh. He is a melanated man. Okay? His sole purpose, he was commissioned by the king to go over and set up a colony. Okay? So these were melanated folks that sat on the throne that came over to the Americas to colonize. Okay?
It was probably like that back in the day when we was coming up. These generations nowadays, I mean, you see white people walking all through the hoods and don't nothing happen to them. Don't nobody call the police on them. Nothing. But soon as a melanated person walks through a white neighborhood, they get the business.
Oh, yeah, big time.
This generation, you know, I see these little cats hanging around with their Caucasian friends, and they letting the white boys be like, my nigga this, nigga that.
Wow.
I mean, the word don't mean nothing for real, but that's the way they talk. They chop it up like that.
Right.
So, I mean, as far as for the hoods being protected from anybody, that was in the past.
Wow. You know I'm getting old then, because you know that shit wouldn't fly. There's no way that would fly. No way whatsoever.
Exactly.
But wow. The other thing I wanted to point out that there was an news story. I can't remember what particular news outlet. One of those entertainment news thingies. Can't remember which one. That showed Meghan Markle's, so Prince Harry's wife, relative from Georgia, from South Georgia, and all melanated people. So I kind of chuckled because, you know, of course they were on there, and the thing that tripped me out is they showed her family tree. And they show how it went back. How far did they go back? I want to say the 1700s. It could have been back even further. And then went down the line on the tree and showed where one of the relatives wind up moving out west. And that's how the family wind up on the West Coast. So I'm sitting here chuckling to myself because I'm like, you know, and of course the relatives that they were showing in Georgia were happy that they were being acknowledged and woo this, that, and the third, and he's welcome to come there, blase, Skippy, etc. Woo. So I'm sitting there chuckling because first of all, they know that it is a portion of the indigenous folks researching their bloodline. They know that we're on it, okay? So I chuckled on that. And then the second portion of it, so now you're going to link, you want to bring out Merkel's roots or indigenous roots to the South and the West. So in other words, you're saying that she has bloodline ties to both important pieces of Turtle Island. You know, and so therefore the fuckery can continue because of her marriage to the crown. So just pay attention of the fuckery that they're trying to play. They're trying to use the same spell that they did before, but it's not going to work this time. I don't give a damn how sleek the rest is. It's enough that's not sleek. They're just not going to be able to get away with it anymore. And just also pay attention to, as they talk about people with the ancestral lands, they're telling you how our ancestors that were able to hold on to the land. And I mean, I know personally, everyone that I know talks about that ancestral land, they link it either all the way back to, they call it the sharecropping days, or their family got it after the Civil War, or their family had it before the Civil War, and all of them, not one, all of them have said that nobody can sell that land individually, that it has to be a collective effort. And most of them cannot sell the land, period. It has to be passed down from generation to generation to generation. So pay attention to that. I'm saying that to say The foundation was already laid down by our ancestors. And as these things starts to unfold about ancestry and tribes, these are the things that those of us that are awake, that you have to have your head on straight, as Brother Sean was talking about earlier, to not get caught up in this paperwork fuckery. Okay? So I'll pause.
Speaking of Merkel, right? Now, I done read some history, and I've heard some theories, a lot of history, and she's a Plantagenet, that side. And what happened here on this continent, we were all here because, Maya and all the southern, islands and stuff were here before anybody else came. But what happened is when the traders traded with the Europeans to do commerce on this land, some of us didn't like that.
Right.
And I think 35 of us, only of them showed up and made the deal. And so when they came out here to do their commerce, they decided they want to expand. Remember that thing you were doing about the go west and, the land run?
Right.
Well, the ones that broke away from the Iroquois Confederation were the Toltecans. They went south into Mexico and Texas, well, now Texas and all that kind of stuff, because they didn't want to be part of the Europeans' plight for commerce on this land. So that really, what the Bible says, it's the northern and the southern kingdom split. That's the split right there. Yes, that was the split. And the theory of the Bible, they put it like it was way back in the day, but it was not that far according to the theory.
Right.
It was like 100,000 years ago or whatever that split took place. So what happened when Solomon lost his kingdom, which wasn't all those, the Bible then added many, many, many years to our history that is the theory out there that's really not that many years. And so when Solomon lost his kingdom, his son David and all those people went over to, guess what, Spain. Now, where was Spain? I don't know. If it was Spain used to be here on this land. But then again, they moved it over there to that land. So I don't know which part of that, what Spain they went to. And they fought over there to keep the Arabs from taking over that land. So this is the theory of history that I have read, and it explains a lot of our stuff, my DNA particularly, and it explains Merkel's DNA as well, why she is to this side as well. But they're not in a marriage of romance, I don't believe. I think they're in a marriage of legitimizing the takeover people.
Right. Totally agree.
Because somebody on their side of the takeover killed one of her relatives and supplanted him. And I think that was Henry the Sixth they killed, or his son or somebody. And they supplanted their non-melanated selves on the throne. And that's how they got the so-called title of king and queen, which they are not. And so there was, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but there was a documentary about two years ago or so that I saw that they went down and found that girl's family because they needed that legitimacy to make her in line for the queenship legitimately and bring one of them into the marriage to her. So that's what I have heard about the situation, because they are not legitimate, especially the Windsors are not legitimate. They're outsiders. They actually killed one of the kids or one of the relatives of her side. But her people, if truth be told, came from this side according to the studies I have read. And we went over there. The southern kingdom, which is Judah, and went south, and Israel was broke apart. And so, that's so all that history that they show in the Bible, it's not so long ago.
Right.
They want to believe it is.
Right. Because they always manipulate
time.
The frequency/time to throw you off your game on what's really going on. Totally agree with you, sis. And sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. A lot of us tribal folks didn't agree to that commerce stuff.
Yeah, most of us didn't agree because that's how we became prisoners of war.
Exactly.
Most of us didn't agree.
Exactly. And that's when they started shipping us to these different areas so we can't regroup. That's why they have that law, the black codes, about a group of us joining together just to talk. They don't want us to even stand on the street corner and talk to each other for fear we're going to get in trouble with an uprising from us. They know who we are.
Right.
So they make all these laws to prohibit us from exchanging, and that's how religion come in here. They put religion out there so we will have their God and get rid of the one that that was the Mother Earth, Father, Father, who ruled us all right, but they gave them a new thing, and they wanted that new thing. So that's what's keeping them down, all that stupid stuff they trying to emulate. Somebody else's captor. I mean, they were captives, and they gave them the captor's God. That's crazy.
Right.
Anyway, that's all I have to say about her, because she used to live where I used to live. I understand. I said, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I know I know who it is, because I hate to say it, she kind of on my family line. But
I understand. I enter and overstand. Interestingly enough, when I was having that conversation, recapping that movie, The Wave, that I was describing earlier, talking about the Aboriginals. So the sister and I, we got to really breaking down the movie from a futuristic standpoint, meaning what has actually happened now, and then we talked about the spiritual side of the movie, which is really deep too. So all of a sudden I said, you know what? This shit right here, okay. I said, if you think about it, this all goes back to the original fall. And we've already discussed this. The original fall of the Lemurians being detached from nature. Okay? So if you think about it, the further we fell, the more everything kept splitting. Okay? And I talked about this on my Facebook page, because there was only one, quote, quote, nation or civilization, Lemuria. Then it was Lemuria and Atlantis. Okay, and it talked about how the Lemurian civilization failed to the point where they had to use language, and then it had gotten so bad that the animals had turned against them and was eating them, and then the Atlantis civilization spurred up, and they were using their technology to keep things in play, but they still weren't connected to the source like they should. So wars kept breaking out, and the continents kept drowning, because Brother Sean brought up a very good point. It's not that it's sinking, it's that the water keeps drowning out these civilizations. And that's why I keep saying it's not going to be any different today. That is what's going to go on today. The water is going to keep purifying, okay? So stay with me. So now we have Atlantis. Now we have Lemuria, now we have Atlantis. Wars kept going on, and then Mother kept adjusting herself. The frequency still ain't right. Still not right, people. So she floods the land masses. They keep changing, but the splits keep happening. Okay, so now we are to the point we have, quote, quote, so many nations, but when in reality, there's really only Asia, Africa, Arctic, America. But because man's consciousness is so fucked up, they have created the illusion of separate nations. Okay? And the more we got into that, our consciousness created these splits of the continents. Mother had no choice but to keep drowning it out and splitting it because of the consciousness of folks. And if you pay attention, you're going to see these same problematic folk, which they're about to get washed out this time with the same motherfucking fuckery. Because Asia in particular, let's get on they stinking asses. Asia, that's including Europe, Russia, India, that's all of that little area, okay? You still have that same area trying to switch colonization. So peep game of what they're trying to do, but it's going to have devastating impact for them, because from a superpower perspective, Europe had given up their superpower long ago. They were just behind the scenes as the administrative. Then you had the U.S. corporation looked at as the world superpower. Now China has set up, and it has been agreed upon by these same controllers or colonists to hand that type of power over to China. Okay, so now we're still in Asia. Okay, and China is going around the other world trying to set up on the sly some slick motherfucking colonization. Okay, it keeps coming out in the particular news that the Africa continent, they are really, really taking over with the colonization of Africa. And we've already talked about how they sold, the U.S. court called themselves selling land or natural resources on the Americas, particularly the port, to the Chinese. So the point I'm trying to make with all of this, as Brother Sean pointed out, of this game that folks are still playing in their consciousness with these corporations and this paperwork. You, as the ancestors return, you have to peep game and see the shit for what it is. Because that's all it is. It's a bunch of bullshit. And it's being controlled by your consciousness. Your connection should be to Mother Earth and the land, not the motherfucking corporations that are man-made. All of these nations that they are claiming are nations, they are man-made. They're man-made. Your link and your connection is through your bloodline. That's what ties you to the land. And the only reason this fuckery has gone on with colonization for this long is because folks have disconnected from the land, looked outside of themselves to barter for other people's trinkets, which didn't have value, and we kept falling further and further. So as the shift is taking place across Mama, and the energies have lined up to give us, the ancestors returned across this planet, another vehicle to do what we need to do spiritually to correct this up. The same sort of folks that do not resonate on that vibration are trying to use the same tricks, okay, the same spells with language, words, contracts, corporations. Okay, so pay attention to what is going on. So I'll pause in case somebody puts something on it. If you want to put something on it, press *1 to get in the queue.
Yeah. But the whole concept of religion goes all the way back to the beginning of the fall.
Yes.
When people look at Kemet, and even as far as for here, going back to the Aztec and the various gods that they had, sacrifices, it was a religion.
Yes.
We just didn't have the terminology for it back then. But it's basically the same thing that our people are doing now. It's just under a different label. It's a different language.
Absolutely.
Each language that we go up under casts a different spell. People sit up and talk about how certain people are so intelligent because they can speak many different languages. What type of hellified spells are they up under? I mean, what are you doing to yourself when you sit up and take somebody else's word that this actually means this, that, or the other? Because I'm quite sure everybody that's doing all those languages aren't researching it to the etymology of those words.
Exactly. Yep, the root of those words. That is correct. That is correct.
I mean, it's all in the language thing, but
it is. It is.
Religion, whether you're talking about present-day religion or the people that's hollering Oshun and all these other names.
Yeah.
Same shit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why, and I see you, brother 832. I'm bringing you on just a second. I'm sorry, sis. Go ahead.
Even the word God, if you look it up, is Gadriel. And Sister Lina said, she said it's Gadriel. You know, so they even tell you to call on God, and you're calling on a demigod.
Right.
So there's a trickery in all the language. There's spells that you cast on yourself, and it leads to the fact that you got to be secure in yourself, that you are doing the thing, the best you could do to be the best you can be, and the best that you have to deal with, and you don't need nobody else but yourself.
Exactly.
It's like work out your own soul salvation. That's what it says to do. That's what our ancestors said. You got to work on yourself.
That's right.
Nobody else.
That's right. That's right. Very good, and that's why I'm adamant about, especially when you're dealing with a con. We talked about contract. A contract, you know, you're supposed to be writing your own things. It is supposed to be coming from your particular intentions, your magic. So be very, very careful, family, as we continue to move into these higher frequency energies, because on that spiritual side, although physically we talk about the land being returned, etc., everything is really spiritual in nature. You have these same whether or not you want to call them demigods, fallen ones, demons, it really doesn't fucking matter. Those that are not going to be able and cannot take these higher frequencies are going to be using, yet again, the spell of language, contracts, corporate, fiat, to lock you back into the spell to keep the fuckery going. Okay, that is why when we talk sovereignty, not talking about brother so-and-so's work, do this, file that, cross this, say this, add this title. It is taking ownership of self. And that means in everything, in language, in any con/tracks, all across the board. That's what sovereignty is. Break those dependencies. We talked about that last week. That's what true sovereignty means. When you do that, they have nothing else to feed on. Okay, so let me bring on Brother 832. 832, your line is open.
Brother.
Hey, brother.
Sandra. My sisters from other misters.
Hey, bro.
Sean. My brother from another mother.
Indeed,
You know,
indeed.
I'd like to make an attempt of rolling these concepts together for the past few weeks that you've been sharing with the family and the insight. But before I kind of lay out somewhat of a blueprint, if you will, using my brother Dane Calloway, I'm going to pay homage to him. I don't know if you remember, sister with the biblical expertise, could you possibly help me with the specific scripture of, and the children shall leave? I'm paraphrasing now. And the children shall leave. But there is, you were discussing Meghan Markle.
Mm-hmm.
And her lineage. If I'm not mistaken, you're talking about her matrilineal lineage. They don't really want to discuss much of that white trailer trash side of the family, because he's kind of towed his behind with his own white relatives in some degree. So everything that you were talking about is from that melanated sister that they tried to hold up and hold at arm's length during the wedding. Am I correct?
True.
Yes,
true.
from
Yes.
from her mom's side.
You know what? They don't live in Compton, okay? Them white folks, they ain't living in Compton. And that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, sis. Okay.
Straight out of Compton, is that what you're saying, Sister Sarah?
Yeah. And I don't know how true that was, but my son told me about it. I said, are you serious? We live down the street from her.
Wow.
And he said, yeah. I said, wow, how small is the world when we come from almost the same?
Yeah.
But are you talking about the white father side of her family, or are you talking about the western branch of the mother's family?
They went into Australia to get the father side of the family, but the mother side come out of Compton, L.A.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's how I heard the story. That's where she came from on that side.
Yeah, and it would make sense because, like I said, when they showed the family tree, they showed it starting in Georgia, going back centuries, and then one of the relatives on the mom's side moved to California, so that's how they got in California. Yeah, but it's through the mom's bloodline. Yes.
The other thing is what you were trying to give some credence to. Now, I want to talk about this in a natural and a holistic fashion as well. The chief's name, or at least for the city that you were trying to grasp, is Roanoke, Virginia.
Roanoke.
Now, I'm always a bit my brother Dane, I'm gonna have to follow in his footsteps because it always intrigued. Where in the world did those photographs come from? If we didn't have no money, if we're impoverished, I mean, we're talking about these were turn of the century photos. If you took most of all these documentaries that he does, he shows all these melanated tribal people photographed by who?
Yep, that's a very good point. Yep. Because it was expensive
and
to take
obviously
pictures
these
back
European
then.
Caucasoid demons that was using this technology, because you know they give credit to Edison, do they not?
Although we know he didn't do that. Yeah, but
I didn't say he did. I'm saying I said they say. They always have they, right? Okay. Never describing who the hell they are.
Right.
All right. So on one hand, they're taking the photographic evidence and documenting the fact while lying with the $5 fraud.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Then if you remember, I can't remember which documentary it was. It might have been the one about the 98% of African Americans are native to this land, not from Africa. He showed this, I mean, we're talking about, we used to call blue-black type, dark-skinned, melanated brothers, with that huge cloud. You know how our men would smoke, they would blow it out their nose like a dragon.
Yeah.
Do you remember that photo I'm talking about with the whole headdress thing and everything?
I
have
don't
to go
remember
back
the photo,
and look up some of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if it ain't him. It's a cousin. You know?
I see what
but
you're saying.
The way that photo was, the way that brother was smoking, whether it was the herb or tobacco or not, that's what flashed in my mind when you said he is the face, the image of tobacco. Now, in one of his other documentaries, he talked about who we've been told in the fantastical story of Pocahontas, and now we're to believe Elizabeth Warren's Pocahontas, one of these $5 descendants in the Senate, right? In the Senate, claiming he's 1/16th Native American or whatever. John Smith or John Roth, as he said, that he purchased his diary from the England Historical Society, was who they sent over here to initiate under British Crown the empire that we know today as the tobacco industry. Okay, I'm saying all that to say this: when you made those references in the article of what you call, was it heirs property?
Yes, that's what they're calling it. Yes, sir.
Okay, culturally, our ancestors try to, though we acted a fool. Sean, you're absolutely correct. You said that last week about them dirty niggas. Where's your patch of dirt, brother? Is it in the North or South Carolina?
Alabama, Farmville.
Oh man, I'm born in Beeham, man. That's my birthplace. Birmingham. That's the heart of it. But anyway, our ancestors are trying to tell us what that we continue to ignore. First of all, you can't sell the land. I want to deal with that conceptually, culturally for a second. How can you sell something you can never own?
Exactly.
That's first. Okay.
Let's start with that.
And then secondly, this whole concept of materialism that we're taking from, as you've accurately described them, sisters, colonizers. So colonizers, by definition, don't own squat. They literally have no home.
Right.
They are squatters.
Yep.
By definition. Then they went and flipped a script called sharecropping. How the hell are you going to share my crop?
Right.
Then they flipped the script and said, I got to pay rent to a squatter on my land, sharing my crop and yield, and I'm going to get the remainder. Or the leftovers, if you will. Am I, correct me at any time, sisters. I mean, I'm a little confused. I'm getting long in the tooth. Maybe you're bringing it. This clearly.
You're bringing it. And only thing that still just kind of, and I just have to be patient with people. And sometimes a lot of times, not sometimes, I just let it go, because that whole sharecropping thing, folks believe that their slave masters either gave them that land and or either sold it to them. I'm like, really?
Right.
Bro?
So okay, let's be clear on this concept of sharecropping. Again, the people already here. Remember the documentary he showed the speech segments of Martin Luther King talking about how, you know, they invested in land grant colleges, and they showed them how to farm. Of course, you're going to show somebody foreign to the land, don't know a damn thing about it.
Exactly.
How they going to know how to harvest from it?
Exactly. They couldn't have known.
Okay.
Yep.
Now we're going to move to you're a tenant, but you're the landlord paying rent to the tenant? Okay, I mean,
Yep.
I'm just making an observation. I mean, I don't know. I'm confused. You know, I'm confused. Now let's drop on top of that taxation.
Yep.
How the hell are you taxing my land?
Yep, my land.
And now we got the issue of back taxation. You know about the way gentrification is playing out across the land.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know how they're using this. Two strategies, essentially. Back taxes, eminent domain.
Yep.
We'll put those aside for a second. I'm raising these points about whatever intelligent discussion we have going forward on what is a. Now you do know the difference between a land grant and a land patent, right?
Yes.
And they have no land patent.
Right, and you can, by the way, find that going back, just looking at the county land record deeds, and he's right. You'll see where the kings over in England, because they didn't document Spanish or Dutch, but the states picked up. Well, why would they? Shit, because. So anyhow, you can go back to.
Well, by default, you know, you got two levels of complicity here. When you're dealing with any of the monarchies from Europe, you're talking about the Pope. Now we haven't put that in the conversation for now.
You are.
So by default, the British Empire was allowed and tolerated by the so-called British colonizers, who pimped the Spaniards and leverage the French in different ways when we're talking about colonial America, okay?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, they went inside, not just because they spoke the same language and because they were kinsmen and they were blood cousins and all this other crap, okay?
Right.
It's like Spaniards' claim was, we got here first because we were the first explorers. The French claim was, well, we loaned these poor ragtag folks 1.5 million francs, or whatever the coin of the realm was at that time. So they're in debt to us that they wouldn't exist because they couldn't have fought the war against their quote-unquote oppressor, King George. But then they went and turned and went back, but it's better, you know, the whole argument, better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Right.
Kind of argument. Okay, so let's put all that aside for a second, because we talk. Excuse my French here. Well, it used to be talking about Big Daddy or Big Mama. This is white folks shit. Okay. All right. Their blood relations and back forth fight. Our stuff we ain't cleaning up is our backbite. Like Sean points out very regularly, tribal warfare, all this nigga shit, backstabbing. Yep. Now it's become coon agents, like the House of Consciousness, if you will. But anyway, I'm bringing these thoughts to the forefront by saying our ancestors, through all of this nonsense and idiocy, still has laid in, as you call it, the foundation that you cannot sell this land if you can't get your shit together. Yeah. And by the way, if you get your shit together, why the hell are you selling the land?
Yep, you still can't sell it. When
it's supposed to be there for perpetuity, for your posterity, for your legacy, for your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. So if we ain't got enough sense to understand that, we don't deserve the land that's supposed to sustain us.
We don't deserve it.
I don't know. I'm confused.
Sending you hugs and kisses on that. Can you say the last part for me? Sending you hugs and kisses, because We have to enter and understand that.
If you can't understand that the protection, the future of your children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren is incumbent upon you getting your head out of your ass, stop beefing, backbiting, and fighting. Because we're not talking about strength. We're talking about blood relatives, siblings.
That's right. That's
parents
true.
and children, grandparents and grandchildren. We ain't talking about the goddamn Klan and the white man.
That's right.
If you can't get that shit straight, number one, not only do you not deserve it, you're doing a disservice to your great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents, and great-great-grandparents that set out this heirs property requirement.
That's right.
If I'm understanding what you just read tonight, okay? So when we put these pieces together, and I'll yield on this because I'm going to keep saying Dan Calloway, the respectful brother that he is, until we help put more soldiers, young men and women, around him, staffing this effort. Bring Chief Alonzo Langley, if you will, and the forensic genealogy and those other aspects of the tools that will help us document. The paper trail is irrelevant. It does not confirm or deny who we are by DNA, by birthright, by inheritance. It does not confirm or deny who they are as the liars, criminals, outlaws, and colonizers, because those are all facts.
Right.
The only problem is we're dealing in a construct, a matrix based on being pencil whooped. And this paper trail journey will help in what you said last week as reverse the curse. We have to flip the script. And the way we flip the script is using their shit. As Sandra said eloquently last week, the pen is mightier than the sword. And words, take the S from the end, put to the front, becomes a sword.
Yep.
All right? So I'm not saying I have any answers. I'm just making observations here. Like I said, I'm one of these old, broke Negro Indians that's a little confused. I mean, I'm just a little confused.
I think you're straight to me. I think you got it straight to me.
But when we start down these paths, as yours is yours, mine is mine, individually, coming to collect this paper trail, then collectively, by handing up like a baton, this is a marathon. It's not a relay race. It's a marathon. We hand it to our children and our grandchildren, the tipping point. It's almost like the 99th monkey. Before the 100th monkey, it then goes throughout, disperses through a population, and consciousness flips.
Yes.
That's what we have to be working towards, the tipping point. And I yield, my sister, because as I said to all of these immigrants with an eye, we're going to be at the base of Statue of Liberty with a barbecue and a cookout. You ain't got to go home. But you got to get the hell out of
here. That's right. Indeed, brother. Indeed. Thank you so much, brother. Peace and love. You brought it. Damn, you brought it tonight. Woo.
Peace and love.
Yes, he brought it tonight. And he also reminded me about the curse with the words. Because remember, we were talking about last night, Cain. Not last night. Last week we were talking about the curse of Cain, the Cain, and then you brought up the Khan, Khan, and how the Khan was taking over. Okay, and which, by the way, if you think back to what I said about Asia, that's that whole Khan connection again. So I went back and did the breakdown from a numerology standpoint. And when you break down the word Khan, Khan, it equals 34. And you add the 4 plus the 3, that's 7. Okay, and remember when we discussed in numerology, anytime you see that 7, it's associated with the 7 heavens or this particular realm, okay? This particular physical realm, Okay? So that whole con, the use of that word is once again that particular bloodline, that Asian bloodline, wanting to control the world, okay, the realm, okay. So that's from a spiritually perspective, that's the spell that particular word was casting on the world, okay. So to reverse that, you know that 7 is also associated, because remember, anything in the physical is also attached to the spiritual. So also what's associated with that 7 is your individual chakras. Okay, so that's why it still goes back to individually. And individually, as you balance your chakras, then you can reverse out any spell that is trying to be cast upon you. Okay, all right. So that's the spell of the con. Cain went back and broke that word down, the CAIN. That adds up to 27. 2 plus 7 equals 9. Okay? And 9, numerology means completion. Okay? So the curse of Cain was being completed. We also know the number 9 is divine feminine. Okay? So in other words, that spell of Cain was associated with completing not only the curse of the brothers and the bloodline, but it was also tied into the male-dominated rule that we currently see. So the reverse of that Cain is the divine feminine energy coming into play to balance it out. Okay, so that is the reverse side of that curse. So, once again, just to remind the family that it is our particular job now as the ones that are awakened in your generation to be reversing these curses, okay? From a wording perspective, it bleeds into the spiritual perspective. You are that link to your bloodline to reverse it all up. Okay, it's just that simple. So I'll pause in case somebody want to put something on it.
Yeah. We have to figure out a way to be forever present. Anything that we think, say, is nothing but a memory. This is something that we were taught. So, our chakras being portals, until we're able to master and navigate those, we're never going to be in the present moment. Because even what I said just now, or just then, is the past. The fact that you're thinking about it means it's a memory. Nothing is present. We have to catch up to the present.
Absolutely. Totally 1,000% agree. Other follow-up items, just to remind the family once again, dealing with the now, things have come full circle. I think Cheryl posted this, if I'm not mistaken. This is off of Indian Country Today, and it was posted 6 days ago. And even these $5 Indians, they're very troubled about the census. The 2020 census coming up. This particular article says census in deep trouble. Tribes could lose millions of dollars. One estimate says every tribal citizen not counted cost their tribal government at least $3,000 in lost federal dollars. American Indians and Alaska Natives are undercounted during best of circumstances every time the U.S. conducts its once-a-decade count, but this year, the 2020 census is in trouble. It's been in trouble for a while, said Norm D. Weaver, a consultant who has served on census advisory boards and has worked with tribes to improve their count. DeWeaver said census troubles have been brewing for several years because Congress hasn't wanted to spend enough money on the process. Native communities have a number of problems ranging from the lack of rural addressing to a justified concern about answering questions from the government. Yet the stakes are huge. One estimate says that every tribal citizen who is not counted cost their tribal government at least $3,000 in lost federal support for services. Let's put that in perspective. If a 10,000-member tribe is undercounted by 5%, that's a loss of $1.5 million a year in federal funds every year for the next 10 years. Many federal programs and block grants, that goes your that grant word, brother, use census numbers to determine spending. There were supposed to be field tests at Standing Rock at Colville, but those were called off to save money. Another reason why the census is so important is because it determines representation in the Congress and state legislatures. One congressional district is about 700,000 people, except in states where there is one member for the entire state. Several states are hoping that population gains will mean an additional seat after the 2020 count. So how do you fix the census? The best answer would be more support from Congress. But another answer is for the tribes to do more of the work on their own, in a way bailing the federal government out. Okay, so again, that's an article off Indian Country Today. News update: census is in deep trouble. Tribes could lose millions. Now, let me take a sip of water. Here's the thing, family. And Brother Sean did an excellent job reading off my vibrations and tying it very closely into tonight's topic about the beautiful you and loving your divine self and not falling in the trap of these words, these contracts, etc. What you're seeing happening, and just like Brother 832 just came on and reminded us, is a reversal of the fuckery that went on before with the signing these treaties and these contracts and the switching of identity and the dolls rolls and the $5 Indians. Now you're starting to see this stuff reversing out, where just as they use the pen as the sword with the words to write our ancestors or ancestors off the land, now it's being reversed on the same group of people who have switched identities and benefited, okay? Because they fight very hard to stay federally recognized, and even the more as I learned, shout out to folks like Dane Calloway and Brother Sean, what's the one brother's name that you dropped his video in my email box? He puts out a lot of good information. I would have to go.
He was phenomenal. I can't remember what his name is.
It's not Dark Man X, is it? Or
No, he was Fauna.
Fauna?
Federation of Aboriginal. I can't remember. But I'll look it up and see. But that word grant, land grant, how they giving somebody permission to have something that ain't there?
Like the King of Spain did. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, I'm just saying. It's grant. Look at the words.
I know.
They grant. That's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got kicked off, y'all. But I had my backup, so we must be getting hot, baby. Just straight got kicked off. That's okay. I had my backup for that ass tonight. But so I forget the brother's name, Brother Sean, that you dropped his video. I was trying to go to it because I do want the family to check him out as a reference. What's the brother's
Two Hawks?
name? Yes. Yeah, he has the Fana stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see right quick what's his YouTube channel. He has a lot of great information on there, and his website is Federation of Aboriginal Nations of America. Not website, YouTube channel. Federation of Aboriginal Nations of America. Check him out. He has a lot of good information flowing on that quote legal side for you not to get caught up in the bullshit with the paperwork. And as he was kind of teaching me, and he was teaching it to everybody, not me one-on-one personally, about these different tribes that's been federally recognized, how they essentially trick themselves out of their quote sovereignty, okay? Because everything that they have, the land itself, what they did is, now tell me if this ain't some fuckery beyond fuckation, okay? So I'm going to show you the difference of how our ancestors laid out the blueprint of how shit should be done versus folks that went into a motherfucking agreement with somebody and now they're fucked, okay? So those people that are federally recognized, not only are they giving out subsidies from the U.S. court from a medical standpoint, as well as they get monthly checks from the government, but their land itself is put into a trust that they don't even fucking control. Literally, the U.S. corporation controls this land trust, okay? Now, think about that difference of being federally recognized versus what your ancestors gave you, which they're calling heir property or heirs property, where they laid out you can't sell a goddamn thing. This land can only be passed down from bloodline to bloodline to bloodline, end of story. So that's a huge difference within itself. So I've been seeing at least 2 articles a week with folks being kicked out of being federally recognized, seeing their benefits being taken away, et cetera, okay? And all of this is being done. It is reversing up that stroke of a pen of how they took the land away from our ancestors in the beginning. So pay attention to what's going on. It was also reported, I don't know if it was last week, but another one of the federally recognized tribes
they got kicked out. They just totally kicked them out of federal recognition. And I had heard years ago someone tell me that even within those tribes, that they were kicking their own people out of the tribe because the money was drying up from the casinos, and some of the federal funding was being cut from the casinos. So they were essentially turning on each other, who they say are their tribal members by blood. They were even kicking them out. Okay, so now it's going into full gear once again. So just pay attention to what's going on. But you, as your ancestral bloodline, your responsibility is to, number one, know who you are, what your bloodline is, educate your bloodline, establish you all's own set of rules, model that after what our ancestors had put before us, and be wise enough to enter and understand that you are not supposed to have any connection to the fuckery of the corporation, okay? All right, so just to give the family, that's all the follow-up. I know it was a lot. It's going to have to be a lot tonight because that's how the information is rolling. Just be careful.
You know what?
With that. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, sis.
About being careful. I decided I'm going to be a brainiac, and I use the ADRIT, the American Indigenous, whatever. And one of the things that you have to do with paperwork, if you do have it, is to proclaim stuff and let them know that you know who you are. So I was going to be a brainiac on this stuff, and I said, I'm going to tell my mortgage company that. So I wrote them a letter, and I declared, I made a declaration, legal declaration, and with an affidavit, and they wrote me back a nasty letter talking about I need to stop looking at commercials. And whoever I'm looking at, it may be fraud. So I need to, because otherwise they're going to try to prosecute me for that kind of information if I dare get out of my mortgage. But I had no intention to do it. I just want to see what they're going to do about it.
I was going to say, I didn't hear you say you was telling them you wasn't finna motherfucking pay them. So why are they panties in the bunch?
Oh, because it's a declaration. It's a legal document, and it's recognized by courts. Once you make a declaration, they have to do something about it, or it stands. So they were trying to tell me, well, you're going to go to jail. I said, yeah, well, knock yourself out. So because this is our land, and they making us pay for it. So this is what they did. So they gave me an escrow check for $10.33. I said, $10.33 escrow check? I said, I don't even have an escrow. And the check felt wrong. And I read down in there, in the small print, in the itemization part of it, that it was a repossession check.
Oh, really?
Yes. They want to put me as a mortgagor. And if you look at the word mortgagor in the Black's Law Dictionary, that means you're the tenant. And they had my name in high big caps. If I had to sign that check, then I became the mortgagor or the tenant. And then at the top, they had the codes again. So when it was cashed, it would go to a different department, and they would start repossession. So I just wonder, being careful, how many people have got a check from their mortgage company that claimed them to be the mortgagor so they could kick your butt out your house?
Wow. And again, you just simply wrote into them, you ain't saying you're not going to pay, you haven't been paying. So you touched quite a few nerves there.
I touched so many nerves, they were threatening. I started laughing. I said, you know it's truth then, huh? But see, it's such a scam that we have to, as Brother 832 says, it's such a scam that we're paying on our own property, first of all, and we're paying taxes on our own land.
Right.
And they will threaten you. So I became a $10 Indian on a 1033 check.
Right.
And 1033 is a code, by the way, for a crime. That's what they wanted me to cash. And not only did they give me that check, and they gave me an expiration date of 120 days, which has expired, they sent me a letter asking me if I still had the check, and if not, they would replace it. That's how bad they want me to cash that check. So you wonder why people are on the street? Because they got probably that check. And they thought, oh, I didn't know I had escrow money, and they cashed that check. Because your big payments are actually gifts to them, and it's not a payment. But they also have your contract that even if you're late, you can pick it up at the end of the mortgage, and nobody knows that. Nobody reads it. So I was listening to this mortgage fraud that they got going on. Every mortgage contract is a fraud. And I was listening to that. And so this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get me to sign that check to put myself underneath their jurisdiction. Otherwise, my ownership stands.
And it's the same scam, though, sis, if you think about it, just like I just described. And I know that's probably what sparked your memory to share your story. And thanks for sharing it, because that's some, ooh, girl, that's some bullshit.
$10.33.
Yeah, it's an insult. But, you know, it's the same thing they did with the
Indians,
federally recognized tribes.
That's right.
That's
that's why they got the $5
under their jurisdiction.
They call them $5 Indians, don't they?
Yeah, they're still under the U.S. court jurisdiction at the end of the day.
Yep. Now they went up to $10.33. We got some interest. Yep. And they following up a $10.33 check with a letter. And if I'm lying, I'm flying. I can give you the proof of it because I kept both of them. I said, wow, that is something.
Wow, yeah, that blew my locks back on that one. Because
I used the American Rights of Declaration of Rights of Indigenous People. I told them what that ADRIP said. I sent it to them, and they got pissed.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. And so you didn't get nobody's package, nobody's letter, none of that. You constructed that yourself and sent it in.
Yes, I did. I sure did. And you have to challenge a declaration in court. And they didn't do it.
Yes, they do.
And they didn't do
it.
They can't. And so my declaration stands. And that's why they wanted me to sign that little $10.33 check.
Trying to get you back in the jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And go try to say to you that you threatening and they going to file charge. Okay, well, do you then, bruh. Do you.
Go for it. I can prove where I was born. And my mother and my daddy and my granddaddy, and we all from the same area, all of us. So go ahead, knock yourself out.
Wow. And, you know, speaking of that, I also ran across an article, and this one came out in 2013. I think Sis Cheryl had probably posted that one too, where they were talking about the census once again. I guess they was getting people prepared for when they was saying that they was taking Negro off the census and you know, because Negro is that code for
yes, the code for Indian.
Yeah, it's the code for Indian, and I've also seen articles where other Indians and the different tribes were talking about how they changed the census, and then even white folks are up in arms about them changing the census too.
Yeah, because they don't have no place to go either. They don't. None of them have any. Oh.
They do. I mean, you just got to say, you know, what part of Europe or Africa or Asia that you're from, because it's one of those regions. It's not the Americas.
No.
Africa, Asia, or Europe, which Europe is really Asia, but so they got a slot now.
Yeah,
I'm sure I could really care less where do they go, because they didn't care where we go or what we go through.
No, they didn't.
I mean,
they prospered from our...
Color don't matter if you're not from here.
Right.
And you came from here and profited, which they all do. They all come here and they all get classified as white.
Yep.
And they led a good life on our land, look down on us. And that ain't cool. I mean, they got to realize that, because while they running over here, allowing their lands to be raped and stripped dry, they ain't got nothing to go back to.
Yeah. That's true. That's very true. And, you know, Africa, it's a lot of shit jumping off there, because you have folks that are fighting to get the ancestral land back under control. And then with the other hand, they got to get their own people in line. And that's why it's important to sweep around our own motherfucking doorstep. They got to get their people in control to stop letting a new set of colonizers in to retake the shit.
Right.
You know, so you're absolutely right, Brother Sean. I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
It's also in Jamaica, so we don't want to leave Jamaica out. They promising these people to build their infrastructure and everything, and then they putting them in colonization. They changing the name of the place because it's not really Jamaica out there. You know, so when you start answering to I'm a Jamaican, you're under their colonization.
Well, let's get this. Jamaica it's still under Britain colony rule. She's still listed as the motherfucking queen.
Well, so is the United States. The queen.
I mean, but it's ultimately Jamaica, the Caribbean. It belongs to the Americas. So Britain and China can get the fuck on with that bullshit. But it's listed as being beholden to the queen. And when I went to not Barbados, what's the one next to Haiti?
Cuba?
Dominican, which is still really Haiti. I'll never go back to Dominican. But I saw the Chinese over there. I forgot to tell y'all that.
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah, they were over there building roads. And then I got the opportunity to go further in to see how people live. Mostly the elders, how they live, because they don't want no parts of the new shit. I mean, I literally went to one of the elders' homes, and she was giving me the lowdown, and she was like, baby, we don't want no parts of that. We don't understand why the young folks are living in the city like they're living when we have everything we need here, because they didn't have any mortgages on their house. They were living off of solar. Everything was self-sustained. They had their garden out back. you saw little chickens walking across the road, healthy-ass chickens, too. So they really didn't want for anything. So the elder was saying she just did not understand why the young folks were leaving out of the country, going into the city to live that type of life. And as you drive in the Dominican, in the city part, you can see all of this building going on. But when I was there, one of the particular main roads was definitely being built by the Chinese. So,
and they're not paying them good wages either, I understand. They cheat them. They're not paying.
I don't care if they was paying them $1 million.
I know.
Or $1 million yuan.
But I know, but they're getting cheated on top of it. They're giving it up and getting cheated in the process.
There you go. Yeah, it's like you're letting go of ancestral land or striking up deals that there's no need to strike up deals, and you're not listening to your elders. So me sitting there, and I only had like a 5-minute conversation with the lady. I'm like to myself, now this is a damn shame. I'm connecting with this woman. I know what she's talking about. Right. And here, the young folks that's on this ancestral land, you not fucking seeing what she's talking about? Oh, okay then.
Yeah, they're not.
Okay. So yeah, that's what's going on. I know we had a lot of updates, but it all still ties in. For those of you that are in the chat room, really I only see one person. We're going into overtime in 4 minutes. So if you want to continue joining us, you have to dial in 929-477-3858, 929-477-3858. You have 4 minutes. Okay, so we're going to move into the main topic, although we've been kind of talking about it already tonight, the beautiful you. This is pretty self-explanatory, family, but I just wanted to make it a topic for us to be mindful that out of all of what is going on from a physical side as well as a spiritual side, to out of all of this, let's not lose sight of who and what you truly are. Okay? You are a divine being, a very divine, powerful being that has chosen to participate in this physical experiment. At the end of the day, that's really what it is, okay? You have all the power within you to do what is best for you. And in the grand scheme of things, when you are doing that at a high vibrational level, you by default are tapping into the higher realm. Okay? So, let me go here. Oh, everything is just clowning tonight. Hold on. I pulled up that article. Okay, there it is. This article is by Quora.com. What are the qualities of people with beautiful souls? It depends on the perspective. Different people find different qualities necessary for a beautiful soul, and most of the times it is difficult to have all those qualities in a single person. I don't subscribe to that because, having a beautiful soul is not something that you can check off on a list. Okay? Having a beautiful soul is organically innate within yourself. And how you'll know if your soul is beautiful, you'll just know. Okay? Things around you from a physical perspective will start to naturally happen, where you don't have to force it from a physical perspective, because you are tapping in to the greater collectiveness, and naturally things will start to happen for you. And that will mean, most importantly, out of all of this, to be at peace. P-E-A-C-E, peace. Most of us are so wrapped up and caught up on the physical side, trying to get a peace, P-I-E-C-E, on the physical side, that we lose sight of the spiritual, powerful, beautiful side of having peace. Because once you have the peace, P-E-A-C-E, within, you go beyond getting a peace on the physical side. You get the collective whole. Okay? So that's where we are in this particular age as these new energies have come into play. That's why all of this discussion about tracing back your ancestral roots is forcing you to unlock your DNA on the physical side, but on the spiritual side, it's realigning your chakras, it's balancing your chakras to give yourself, your soul, your consciousness, P-E-A-C-E. And with you doing that, you are reversing the generational curses on the bloodline. You are aiding in the curses that has been put across the land, across the planet. That's how beautiful you are. That is how powerful you are. Okay. So I'm going to pause in case somebody wants to put something on it. I'm going to dig up a video in the meantime. All my systems is clowning.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brother Sean.
People, as you said, in their pursuit of the material, which everything is provided for you, so that all you have to focus on is your soul.
Yeah.
Finding that balance, but also in realizing how beautiful and how powerful you are.
Right.
Looking back to the time when our ancestors lived for hundreds and thousands of years, but ultimately they wanted to transition. They wanted to leave the body. Now we face with disease and constant war, leaving the physical early, and we turn clean to it. Through all this suffering, we choose to associate with nothing but suffering from the past.
Yes.
As if nothing else happened but slavery and suffering. That's where we choose to exist at. Never really knowing true beauty of self, because you're constantly wanting to be something else or letting someone else tell you what you are.
Yes.
The fact that you search for an identity in a language that you know isn't yours, a language that you know helps to bind your soul and the flesh.
Yes.
People suffer because of the way they look. You too skinny, you too fat, too dark, you too light. Your eyes don't look right. Your hair ain't long enough. Your hair ain't short enough. All physical.
Yes.
All ugliness.
Yes.
I yield right there.
Yep. Very good point, Brother Sean. And you know, and Sis talked about the energy and folks not being able to handle them. And we're seeing it more and more, and that's where what we are seeing with folks altering the physical body. And it's gotten so out of control. And I've talked about this before because melanated people, we just for the most part cut up ourselves like that. You know what I'm saying? If you was skinny and you had flat chest and a flat ass, then that was what your genes were. It was what it was, okay? You may get some ass and some tits when you had your first baby. You may have shaped up then, or you may not because that was a part of your bloodline, okay? That's just how melanated people were. But now you see, you know, folks literally altering their physical appearance to the point where it is physically harming their body, okay, with the ass injection shots, the silicone, boobs, the, you know, slendering out the nose, to the bleaching of the skin. And all of this is because of the lack of knowledge of self, the lack of love of self, and to realize the beauty comes from within, from the soul and from the spirit. Okay? Beauty has to start within the soul and the spirit to emit a frequency outwardly. So again, folks have altered, skip past the spiritual side of the house and went straight for the physical, and literally are carving themselves up like an experiment. Okay? So literally what is being put before the youth and the melanated community of beauty are a bunch of chopped up people.
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
You know, they're casting spells on the people. They're casting them.
Mm-hmm.
Our people pay attention to their music. The other one's music, not ours. They
Right.
pay attention to their reality shows, and they've been defining for our people since captivity. You can't even wear your hair natural. We're getting to it now, but we couldn't even wear our hair natural without being called into HR or being fired, because they had defined who we are by their standards, and we need to get away from that. In Jamaica, I was looking at some videos, and it's an epidemic of our people bleaching their skins.
Yeah.
And the other folks are looking at us like, are you crazy? We're trying to get your color. But see, they've had spells cast on them. Because they allow it to be done. Because they put themselves in the position to listen to that crap. That their skin is too dark. Man, get mine purple if you want it. Because I have a protection from the frequency and the black sun and the plasma that's coming on this planet to destroy the wrong that's been done to this planet. So our people have to understand that person that they are was done for their protection.
Exactly.
They were made that way because it protects them in the environment that they're in. And we're on top of the planet. We're not under the planet where our skin will go pale. We're on top. And guess what? That means we have to have that darkness. And if you look at their faces right now, the other ones, my sister-in-law call them ghosts, but if you look at their faces now, you'll see all those spots that's coming on their face because they don't have melanin. They are killing us for that melanin. They put it in the suntan screen stuff and all that kind of stuff. Our people need to understand the way we are structured is to roll with Mother Earth. This is what it's made for. And the sun and the solar winds and all that kind of stuff that won't bother us, because remember we did the series on melanin? People need to understand melanin is fluid. It is changeable. It changes to the environment. And you get rid of the things like you're going to bleach your hair out, make it blonde, or keep it straight. You get rid of your antenna and your connection to the universe. These things are given to you for your protection. It wasn't about looks.
Exactly.
So I encourage our people, our young people especially, stop listening to the propaganda, because they're going to turn around right after they laugh at you and go get somebody's shots that they done killed somebody for. They're injecting themselves with shots.
With the melanin shot.
Melanin pills. Yeah. And they are not getting that melanin because they made it. They're getting it because they killed somebody to get it.
Right.
Or one of you.
From funeral homes. Right.
Yeah. Go in there and get body parts.
Right.
And then there was a 16-year-old boy, I think it was in Oklahoma. He went to get his driver's license. I guess the thing. He went to get his driver's license, and the next thing they found him behind the bleachers all stuffed because they had taken his body parts. Stop signing on that dotted line to be a donor, because you make yourself a target.
Yep.
I hate to say that because somebody needs it if you die, but you don't want to be killed just to get your parts. So people need to understand, what you think is ugly, you're worth more dead than alive. They're trying to get your stuff. Like $250,000 for a kidney or something like that. And your body parts are worth more to them than you think. And stop giving that stuff up. Stop putting that stuff in you. It's just destroying what the Most High has, or the power that be, I say Most High, has put in you, so you can survive this frequency change.
Yep.
So I'm off my soap.
No, very, very, very good point, sis. And, it's interesting that you bring up Jamaica, because when I was there on a trip, I was shocked that most of the women was not wearing their hair natural. So
that's crazy.
When I was, walking through, I have locks. It was like the seas were parting. Like, wait a minute.
They probably did.
The men have the locks. The women were not wearing their hair natural. They had relaxers in them.
Oh, yeah.
So they were all like looking at me like, whoa, and then me and, oh, I love your hair, sister. So we went in to buy some stuff, and so one of the sisters said, your hair's just so beautiful. How do you keep it like that? And I'm thinking, am I in the motherfucking Twilight Zone? Do I have a Jamaican fucking asking me how to maintain locks? I'm thinking to myself, I got to be up in the Twilight Zone.
They forgot.
So I, kind of stepped to the side and showed her, but I mean, it was just amazing to me that this particular island, the women were not wearing their hair natural. And when we went to, it was in South America, y'all. One of the places in South America, it'll come to me. A lot of the sisters there were not wearing their hair natural, but this was going to blow you the fuck over. They was braiding Taurus hair. So we walked through there, and one of my sis, she just so happened, she wears her hair natural, but for the trip, she braided up her hair. So they were pulling her aside trying to find out what type of, hair she used to do it. And then they're pulling me aside, giving me cards to, for me to sit down with them for my fucking hair appointment. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, sis, I can't do it. Your shit ain't even locked, or your shit ain't even braided. You think I'm finna let you to put your fingers through mine? No, you gotta come better than that. So literally, we're walking through there, and they're looking at us like, whoa, they have natural hair.
Well, guess who's selling them those products that changes them from who they are? The Asians are.
I agree, because the Asians own the hair business, period.
Yeah, they own the hair business, and they're changing us. And that dye in their hair, they keep that gray away, even though I hate gray. It keeps it away, they think. But it gets away your life, too, because it puts a coating on your brain. It leaves a film over your brain. And who knows what it does to your mind, because you done spent all this time straightening out your hair with the Asian products and the colors. And they don't vet those things. You don't know what's in stuff.
Right. And actually, anybody that wants to color your hair naturally, use henna. It's plant material.
Use henna. They got things on potatoes. Boil some potato juice.
Yeah.
They got
plenty of stuff you can use naturally.
You can got gooseberries, which is called amla. All kinds of things that keep that stuff under control. But these people are not understanding that synthetic stuff is cutting their lives down, their life cycle. They may even be giving them Alzheimer's. That stuff is not made for our people, and we are doing ourselves and our ancestors a great injustice.
Great disservice, absolutely.
A disservice to them.
Right, and let's be clear, the reason that it was outlawed back in the day, supposedly and allegedly,
for our colors?
About our hair, the melanated women's hair. Now think of how deep this is, that you have to come up with HR stuff on how the fuck we wear our hair. Or back in the day, the colonial days, they said that they put laws on the local books because they were saying our hair was a distraction. So that's where the whole concept of wearing scarves came into play. Okay.
Well, a little girl got kicked out of school not too long ago.
Yeah, but shame on her particular parents, because couldn't have been one of mine that you get ready to kick up out of your shit over her hair.
Right.
Boo, she won't be back. How about fucking that? She won't be back to your regular ass establishment. That's how that's going to roll down. That's how that story ends. But the reason that those things are happening, because, again, back to the beautiful you, as the divine, feminine, melanated woman, the power that you possess, just on the physical side of having those natural antennas, connect into Mama Earth's magnetic, electromagnetic field is very fucking powerful.
Yeah, that's true.
That was the reason of the distraction, to strip the naturalness of your hair down, to break that connection with Mama. That is the reason that was going on. Okay? And why, some are continually to do it. Now, the good thing about it, over in the States, it's definitely being reversed out, because I'm starting to see more and more sisters wear their hair natural. You still have a portion of the younger population with the weaves and the wigs, but I'm reading where their shit is being broke off so bad that they're going to have to come out of the wigs and the process and stuff. But it is enough of the sisters that are wearing their hair natural, and this is not a slam against anybody that wear wigs, weaves. That's your motherfucking business. I'm just telling you the connection from a spiritual perspective. And
well, you pick up the vibration of the person's hair you wearing. That's DNA.
That's
so you
true.
Pick up vibration. If you think you're crazy before you put that stuff on, you better hope that person that you wearing their hair, they weren't really wacky, because you're picking up their vibrations that's seeping into your body.
And, it's interesting. I don't know who said this, so don't quote me. I think it was Phil Valentine. Not sure if it was Phil Valentine. I'm not sure if it was Bobby Hemmett. But one of those brothers said back in the 90s that everything will start rapidly changing, and you will know that huge, big spiritual changes are underway, which are going to be the physical changes coming underway when sisters start back wearing their hair natural. And I can't remember which brother said that, but again, that's where everything is going. So what I do want to do is play a clip. Let me see who. I think I'm going to play Bobby, because his might be shorter, because we only have 10 more minutes. Bobby, it's only 5 minutes, and I've played this before, and so it's going to go back talking about activating that power within you. I can find it. Let me see here. Bear with me, your family. I have a lot of Bobby videos. Oh, man. It's disappeared. Oh, no, it hasn't. Okay, here we go. This is Brother Bobby Hemmett, Activate the God. I don't think we'll get cut off. So here we go. I'm just going to play it.
You're going? Not everybody will put this on tape. Yes. First of all, you're going to have to stick to your passions. You're going to have to be true to yourself. Right. Number two, you got to stop thinking of yourself as human. You got to start thinking of yourself as an advanced entity. See, the brain, or the archetype of the collective consciousness, only gives you what you think yourself is. That's right. If you think of yourself just being a motherfucker walking around here just trying to get along and just trying to make it, then that's all you are, cattle. But if you think of yourself as though immortal beings that it is prophesied supposed to return, then your brain will send that signal to the higher you, and the higher you will produce the armor around you, although it is invisible, it protects you. See what I'm saying? I'm going to put this on the tape again. Let me use your brother. Like I said, so we can get this on the tape. If you say that you are a normal Opie from Muskogee, walking around here, you are cattle, you are property of the United States government under the 3/5 of a Human Being Act, and they can do what the fuck they want to do with you. Right. As you've always been. But if you send signals to your higher God self that you are an advanced entity, come back to change this mess, then your body will grow the armor all around you. To let you know what I'm telling you about, they produced a movie this summer called Spawn. Anybody saw it? You need to go get it. Because in the movie, when the guy came, he said, listen, he said, you've been using your power when you get mad. That's how we do, we get help hazardly. Yeah. He said, but you need to start cultivating your energy and knowing who you are. He said, because your taste is a body of armor, and your suit is a body of armor, which talk about your melanin. And the more and more you think, the melanin is only set up for you to think on an advanced, immortal level. Yes. The superhero. The hero comes from what? The god Heru. And who is Heru? You are the Heru. How the hell you think they make these things? So when you start thinking of yourself at an advanced superhero level or a super Heru level, then your melanin produces the type of chemical structure or the type of spiritual or etheric structure that is conducive to what the fuck you thinking. All right. Okay. It's a process in a brain computer. What is melanin? Melanin is a brain computer that produces what you think. But it can't produce so much stuff on the lower level because the melanin is higher than that level. It only produces when you break it to a higher level and start thinking in a higher level, then it produces that. That's why the white boy even know that, who ain't already got no melanin. They teach their children, they into all the Star Wars and the superhero that, and the comic books and all that shit. What you perceive yourself is what you are. So you got to start perceiving yourself as just an everyday Negro. And start perceiving yourself as sons and daughters of God. Now, ain't no way in hell no sons and daughters of God supposed to be walking around this motherfucker talking about voting. You're supposed to be ruling stars, systems, and universes. So therefore, you got to start programming the melanin, which is actually the way you program the actual alchemy process, is thought. The physical is an illusion. It doesn't exist, so you have to program through thought. Y'all getting it? Let's go on. Let's go on. Let's see. A few other things here. What time is it? Huh? 20. Okay. Let's deal with this right now. We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back tomorrow, but let's deal with this. If the religion that you have is designed to shut down your God principle, Jung called it the archetypes of the collective unconsciousness, then what they speak against that makes you scared of is your actual power. Now what I mean by that is this. We're talking about certain ancient words that you think now has been turned into something negative that it wasn't before. And this is what it means. The word demon that you think is negative is your higher melanated spirit. Now, give you a case in point on what I'm talking about is this. A brother called me back in 95. He said, I was born with a veil. You know, that's the southern word of I was born psychic. Right. Or I was a seer. Right. So I was born with a veil and I could see. He said, now ever since I was a little boy, these damn evil spirits been following me. He said, it's about 3 of them. He said, all my life, he said, I done gone to all kind of people. And those particular people that I have gone to have told me all kinds of things to get rid of them. And brother, they still bothering me. What do you know that I can do to stop this? And right then the spirit said, motherfuckers, them ain't no demon, them his motherfucking boys. I said, oh, them your boys, man. You supposed to congratulate them and say, hey, man. Yeah, I understand now. I'm on such a low level to when I look up at what is God now, that scares me because it's remotely different than what I've fallen to. That's heaven coming to get you out of hell, and you scared of heaven. I say, greet them. Pour libations to them and tell them to come on in. He greeted them, pour libations, and they came up and said, hey, man. Lord, brother, we've been trying for 37 years to get with you. We used to hang out in a previous life, but you incarnated back into the physical, and we are still on this plane. And ever since, and we've been trying to get to you for years, because it's been thousands of years. But what happened is you were so ignorant in the other incarnation, but this time when you was born in a veil, you could see us, so therefore we figured we could visit you because you had some type of consciousness. When he was locked up in that Orthodox Islam, they was calling them jinns and shit. He said, we've been trying to get to you since you was a little boy. You are our damn partner. You see? So what you call demons is called exodemian. Like it or not, we all come hardwired with a complete set, 12 six-pack. The Gnostic demons are units of untamed natural forces within ourselves, our melanated forces, that we have ignored, denied, and disowned. They serve us to do their mischief when our will is ambiguous and our resistance is low. After we have committed an embarrassing act of unbelievable stupidity, you are really referring to them when you slap yourself and say, I am my own worst enemy. As long as they are ignored, they are uncontrolled, they are dangerous and hungry beasts in an abandoned zoo. Now, what this means is this. The ancient word for that is called exodemian, or demon, which is the melanin spirit. I told you about books on Gotia. Alistair Crowley said that the Gotia spirits, or those particular so-called demon spirits that the Christianity tells you not to deal with, is nothing but the leftover portions of the brain that science tell you your ass don't use. Remember they say we only use a small portion of our brain? Yeah. That's when you tap into the real deal science of the melanin and the real deal archetypes of your brain. It's so unusual in this regular, rational, mundane shit that you go through until you get scared. But that's your higher self coming and say, man, if you really tap into this shit and face your own soul, we can fuck out some shit. You see? But in order to pray for that, you got to pray to your higher self. But so to pray to God, hell, all people are gods. As the Bible says, you might be praying to some black man on his front porch, that motherfucker might be on crack. He's still a God. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand and talk and honor to yourself. You know what I mean when I say this? You do this shit all the time. See, the society tell your ass, people who talk to themselves is crazy. But you know you've been talking to your goddamn self for years. Just when the motherfucker comes around, you say, who are you talking to? Oh, I was singing. Why do you talk to yourself? You talk to yourself because that's your higher self you're talking to and ain't nobody around. You do it all the time. What you got to do now is you got to start referring to the energy is all the God that you're looking for. The higher God has made the law to put it within you. Say the only way you're going to get to me is through yourself. So you can't get to the Father but through the Son. Not through some old motherfucker hanging on some damn cross. You worship a dead motherfucker, you screw. He a motherfucker that couldn't even save himself from the cracker from the Romans, and I'm going to give the trust to that pastor. He's going to come better than that shit. Because I know some motherfucker white people better than that shit. You want to come up? Okay, let me just tell you. The key on what I'm saying is this. We'll be back tomorrow. Is the power that you are looking for is in yourself. This is not blasphemy. This is not so-called sacrilegious. What it's saying to So what it is you got to start referring to yourself. Now you can't even look at it as an objective entity. What you got to do now is start referring to yourself as God too. You see what I'm saying? And now you got to stop doing this. So now you don't need to be praying no more. You're supposed to do this. And this is what it says. The entities that you used to pray to when you was a young child, they used to be your guardians. But as you become an adult or become God, they become your servants because they're only forces of elements that can only be wielded and commanded by you. So all of God that you praying to, you're supposed to be telling them to get off your ass. Because it ain't physical body as you think. It's forces of elements. Water, air, fire, earth. You understand what I'm saying? Energy. So you got to command the energy. That's what Yoda, which was there. If you go get the picture of Horus, you'll see a Heru standing on some crocodiles, and you'll see the god Best behind his head. That's damn Yoda. Did you see the Star Wars? You see they put him on the back? That was Yoda. And actually, you know what that was? That was his higher self on the inside talking to him. But Yoda said you got to use the force all around you. This shit is authentic because he read 60 doggone books to get it, and the hero of 1,000 faces.
Okay, family. Sorry about that. I forgot I was on my phone. Okay, so that was from Brother Bobby Hemmett. I forget what YouTube channel it was because I pulled it from a previous. I already hit that clip. Activate the God. So we're winding down because I know I don't have much time left on my phone. So again, we just want to reiterate for us to recognize the divine being that you are, and you are divinely beautiful, and to know and to start utilizing everything from within. Everything starts from within. Everything will end from within this realm. But you are in a being of infinity. There is no beginning or ending to you. So with that said, we're going to do last words. Sis, do you have any last words for the family?
Well, I think I said quite a bit of preaching tonight.
No, you were doing your thing.
I just want folks to understand you got to love yourself first before you can love anybody else. And if you've got wrong teaching from your ancestors, your parents, and all that kind of stuff, your TVs, your Game Boys, and all that kind of stuff, the dragon you have to fight is the one that's inside of you. And when you fight that dragon, you can fight that yellow dragon that they're going to try to take over the United States with and all that kind of stuff, because you have the power within you to stop it. We can will it, so we don't have to go get any guns or knives or sticks or anything. But we could just demand that they leave with our own minds, because we had that power long time ago. And we just have to activate it. And I like Bobby Hemmett and that statement he made. It's because it's in us to change our existence. If you look in the mirror, you see yourself ugly because you think you're ugly. But you look in the mirror, you see yourself as beautiful, you're beautiful because it's all in your mind. And that's all, and we need to start get rid of the stinking thinking. That's what they used to call it, the stinking thinking, and get some good thoughts, loving yourself. That's all I have to say.
Indeed. Thanks, sis. Brother Sean, you have any last words for the family?
Yeah. Being beautiful isn't about appearance. Being beautiful is a way of being. It's just who and what you are. It's a higher frequency. Beauty is love. And I yield.
Indeed. All right, family. Well, we will be back next Thursday. I'm not sure what the topic will be or the discussion. So I want to thank everyone so much for their time. We're going to, hopefully everyone got something out of it. We're going to rock out with some music. Thank you, Brother Sean and Sister Sandra. Love you very much for rocking with me as my co-host. And